Ho, 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 and welcome to another of my Merry Christmas run-up monologues. Today I've been thinking about veg boxes and how that might help us get out of the terrible situation with farmers being bought up, development putting in their place, or rewilding going on the land. And this is what I was thinking. I get a veg box from one of the big national veg boxes, mainly because I don't think round here is a scheme that is quite what I want. So I've had to go to a big national one. But there are local schemes and they're all pretty good. But of course, when you're out of season, sometimes you have to still find organic vegetables from overseas or other places. And whilst that's not the best thing in the world because of the travelling of it and the time it takes to get here, at least it's organic and it's more sustainably grown. Not that I like that word sustainable, but it is better for you than, of course, the supermarket food, which is highly processed, grown in industrial scale and not terribly healthy. It doesn't have very many minerals and vitamins in it, as indeed you know. So I get these veg boxes. They come once a week and I put my veg into the fridge or on the side and I use it and I make all sorts of wonderful things. I get most of my meat from the farm shop. Now, some of these national ones, you can get meat and you can get dairy products and all sorts of things. It's actually quite very good. And it beats going to the supermarket, as I say, because they're healthier products. Now, I was thinking, actually, if more and more people were to do that, and the reason that this came to my mind was because this time, as the Christmas period, the selection was pretty poor because lots of people, much more cleverer than me, had already booked ahead and said, oh yes, on my Christmas delivery, I want to make sure I have this and this and this and this and this, whereas I left it a bit too late and this and this and this and this had just sold out, which was a bit of a blow. But never mind, I've got enough to get through and I can make it up by going to farm shops, which is what I've done. However, it struck me that the more the demand for veg boxes, if more and more people go, do you know, are going to give it a try, and I'm absolutely convinced that the companies that I've been working with, some of these national ones, the demand for those over the last 12 months, since more and more people are thinking about the importance of food and have begun to realise that food is medicine, and that, of course, good quality food will keep you healthy, will get rid of more of the heavy metals because you're not inducing them. It will clear out the brain, improve your blood and all those things. And of course, all those nutrients that we desperately need, the minerals and the vitamins and so forth, are in that food. Then the more people that switch on, and I'm sure they have, the demand must be bigger. Now, if the demand is bigger, of course, that must mean that for the veg box companies, they're going, oh, blimey, we've got to get more food because there's more people wanting them, which is great. So they presumably would then approach more farmers or their existing organic farmers and say, can you produce more food? Or we need to engage more farmers. And as that growth grows and more people are saying, hey, actually, let's get some, people in towns and cities who are just not able at this stage to grow their own food. As the demand grows, it must surely follow that more farmers would be inclined to grow for the veg box companies, where they can probably set a better price for them than for the supermarkets, where they're being browbeaten all the time and their prices are being uncompetitively reduced. And of course, they've got to produce something that looks amazing, but may not have all the nutrients and goodness in them. And they're having to do it on a big industrial scale. So I just can't help feeling that if more and more people were to go down the veg box route, that it would then be so much better for all of us, because fewer people would be going to the supermarkets, more farmers would be supplying the demand. Those big farmers that have got monoculture might go, well, actually, what we'll do is we'll have 3 or 4 of these fields which will supply the veg box people and make sure that they're organic and all the rest of it, or as near to organic as they start to change. And I'm sure that veg box people would say, well, great, it's this is what we want: more local food grown in this country all around, and more choice, and not running out at Christmas, which would be very nice. So I don't know whether you thought about doing this or whether you've tried it. It seems to me like a really sensible idea. Of course, there are other schemes, and I was reading a book only the other day in which they were saying that there was an apple orchard chap who ran an orchard, and he said he shared his orchard with his customers. They paid an amount every year, and for that they would get a certain amount of cooking apples, a certain amount of eating apples, a certain amount of chutneys and other things, the product of apples, including so many bottles of cider. But not only that, those people would come possibly at the harvest time and maybe get involved in it. They would come and have picnics. They would come and have a look at the farm. It seems to me that people do want to have that connection with land. They may not be possible to actually move onto the land themselves. They may, because of their work and their families and the way life has situated them, made it impossible, and they're stuck in towns. But they want to be able to journey several times a year rather, to the orchard or to the farm, to be able to see where their investment has gone, to make sure that it's growing properly, and to be able to help out in some fashion so that when they get their big return, they've got lots of good quality, healthy products. It just seems like such a sensible way of doing things, that the old-fashioned way of allowing supermarkets to make the choice, to make the restricted choice that they have, and to keep these things coming in from all across the world, out of season, travel miles, and stuck in fridges, and only at the last minute being put on display, covered in all sorts of goodness knows what chemicals, being produced under highly industrial processes with all these pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and all of that, and not, of course, at all local to the area. So it's worth thinking about. Perhaps you're one of those people who like to make New Year's resolutions, and maybe in the new year you're thinking, actually, you know, it would be good to have healthy food. It would be good to have, we just go on the website and choose and see what's local and see what's produced in season, that's brought properly and tastes delicious. And I can tell you, the veg boxes I get, the fruit and the veg that I have, is absolutely exquisite. It's wonderful. And of course it's delivered to your door. And what could be better than that? I mean, it's like going back and having the old milk round again, isn't it? Where you had stuff being delivered to your door. It's wonderful, it's fresh, it's local, and all of those things. And sometimes, of course, some things aren't as local, but you know that they are being produced by people who care about the food they make. And that seems to be the biggest thing, that if you can have care and a bit of love in the food that you're producing, that food is going to be good for you. I cannot imagine it one way or another that the food produced under the auspices of industrialization, where the machines are doing all the work and barely a human is in contact with that food, able to enrich it with their own love and personality even, that it can be anywhere near as good for you. And who wants food that's all just automatic and all produced? You may as well go and have Bill Gates's blooming synthetic burgers and see what that does for you. So it might be worth just having a look at the old veg box scheme, because that, in and of itself, the demand may well save many of the farms who are desperate for find new ways to make a living and not be at the mercy of those rather horrible industrialists and the supermarkets. Just a thought.